Okay, welcome everyone. It's winter solstice weekend. It's also our climate awareness and Indigenous wisdom weekend. So we're having a deep dive, and I think it's poignant. It's potent, and also we're trying to allow the heart to feel and for the body to feel whatever emerges in the conversations. So we're going to start with a few moments of simply sitting quietly and letting the arrival be something that you consistently practice again and again, so that in a moment in daily life where you find yourself not being at home in your body, where you've kind of exited, that you'll know how to come back. So please take a seat that's yours, that's comfortably yours. Rest your hands in your lap. And close your eyes. And I'm going to recommend that first you begin by sensing the geography on which you are sitting, not just the yoga mat, but the land that surrounds your place, your home, your neighborhood, your village. In sensing this geography, you may not have the specifics, you might not have the timeline or the dates. Try to sense the seasons of inhabitants on this land that you're sitting on right now. And invite your mind and your imagination to go back as far as you sense you could travel. Perhaps even before the land itself was something that these species could inhabit, or that we could inhabit. Prior to the tiniest microorganism that was able to create oxygen at a level that we could breathe on this planet, and so could the other species. And then let your attention, including that, start coming back to the intimacy. So what I call the immensity is that huge timeline without time, and that enormous space that we can't really get our tiny minds around. Now coming back to the intimacy from that immensity, to feel the sensations that you're aware of right now in taking your seat. And begin with the tangible sensations, like you know where you're standing or sitting, you know the material that you're sitting on, the firmness of the floor, the texture of the blanket. Not to know it like analyzing it, but to place yourself in the geography of the present moment, in the body that you're inhabiting, the vessel that you were offered. And as you become aware of the sensations of connecting to the ground, See if you can slow down your mind enough and bring in your subtlety to sense the pulsation in your body. Sometimes you can feel that in your feet or in your seat. If you let the mind get very still and you don't try to control the body, there is a very subtle pulsation, the rhythm of your heart, the rhythm of the circulation moving in your body. Like the little pulsation, the valves of the heart, the movement of the fluids of your body. And though this rhythmic pulsation is its own kind of tempo, it's connected to rhythm in everyone and everything. The more still and unpreoccupied your mind is, the more likely you'll be to sense that the intimacy of this kind of pulsation is also that immensity to which I was referring when we first took our seat. So the rivers of circulation in your own body, like the rivers on the planet, as Thich Nhat Hanh once said in his poem called "Please Call Me by My True Names." He said that his heartbeat and the rhythm of life were the same. The heartbeat was the death and birth of all that is. Acknowledging the dedication and the courage that you have to be a student of yoga at this time in our lives, in the life of the species and the planet. Please join your hands at your heart, and when you do so, let us sense, even without opening your eyes, you can sense the others who are gathered here, and that they too have been honing their attention to the intimacy and the immensity. That which we might feel we can grasp, but that which is also ungraspable. Lengthen your spine and begin to breathe a little bit more deeply, but in partnership with this breath. So not like I have to take an inhale, I have to force an exhale, but allow your body to be breathed in partnership with that which is breathing you. Your task is to not intrude or impede on the process. And you gently participate. Imagine a little bit longer, smoother inhale. Visualize a little slower, more toned exhale. The wisest part of you is the orchestra steward. You're the chaperone of this breath. but the larger truth is the breath is breathing you. And we'll chant together the Gayatri Mantra. We'll sing it 3 times. Let's begin. Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. And please open your eyes. So I'm going to share something with you this morning. Let me see if I have to do it on my other computer because the speaker on this one is broken. So just one moment, please. Okay, so I'm going to do screen sharing and you'll be hearing from Joanna Macy about the power of us being here together to practice this morning. Right now I can see Evelyn, so when this begins to play, can you give me a thumbs up on the volume, please?
So somehow I have realized, and those of us doing the deep time practices, that we birth from this, out of the concern for guardianship, so that we give a shit not to contaminate life forever on this planet with depleted uranium that has a half-life of 4.5 billion years. That's longer than the age we impute to the earth. Grown people are actually know this and are making it. So we're really demented, but we can be rescued by deep time as if we could be rescued by care for the future. Now, to realize in a kind of evolutionary step of interrelationship, that's why I'm feeling so energized these weeks right now, to see that what's emerging now is not with everybody, but even if it's just a little percentage of people, you don't need everybody, but that's dawning on people and is sweeping, that I can be part of the great turning, that I can be, and so that I can be a vessel, and I'm a better vessel when I link up with others.
Okay, I'm going to reset. And what is your experience of this? You are a vessel. You're going to be a better vessel when you're hooked up with others. You sense this to be the case? Such a relief that you don't have to do it by yourself. For some part of us that learned that we had to be like ferocious or tenacious, or we had to do something extraordinary in order to gain love and attention, we had to be highly competent. For that part of us, it might be disappointing that we can't do it all by ourselves, because we have to rely on others. We have to be able to bring in reciprocity and mutuality. So just acknowledge if it's true for you, and likely you live in a society that tells you to be highly productive and competent as a means to security and well-being. And if you don't have enough competence, you'll suffer and we'll blame you for it. So there is a part of you that may have this felt sense that I had to do it by myself. I had to be competent. So I'm asking that part to also notice that what Joanna is saying is, well, you'll be a vessel, but you must learn to collaborate. We're going to be better vessels when we hook up with others. So the part of us that feels like this big yes to that, and the chat is filling up with the yeses, it's wonderful. Let's also note the part that felt like, well, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be highly effective. And that if I could do that, if I, this thing we call I, could do that, well, then I could cause a ripple to others. Quite likely true, you will cause a ripple. But if I am doing it with aggression or judgment or othering, as we say, othering the otherness of the other, we can also cause offending them. So rather than the I that thinks she or he is doing it, Joanna's pointing to being vessels connected with each other, and let then that movement or that pulsation kind of speak for itself, to be a rhythm that we're reviving by participating. I'm trying to be thoughtful that we don't see ourselves as dominant culture, then having to be the dominant solution. Are you following okay what I'm saying here? It's coming across clearly. Okay. So let's move this into the body now, so we can have this resilience that we're really relying on and we need. So I'm going to ask you to get a yoga strap, please, and we're going to start standing with the yoga strap. Thank you for your chats, which I will explore when I can read. Let me put my other camera on so you'll be able to see me better. So come up to standing with your yoga strap nearby. And make a loop in the strap. So if you don't have a strap, by the way, a bathrobe sash works, and so does an old necktie. And you could tie that so that you would have your hands shoulder width apart like this. If I show you here, my shirt is purple, my strap is purple, so I'm showing you here, that's what it looks like, shoulder width apart. Okay. And then standing with your feet firmly planted. We're going to do this process several times, so it can become something you do relatively quickly and you feel it immediately, just the way you might feel the immediacy of your anxiety in other situations. So in mountain pose, connect to your feet. The geography on which you're standing. The immensity that your regular mind cannot even comprehend, on which you are standing, what goes so far back in time. And the intimacy of your own feet having the sensations of the ground. See if you can quiet the mind enough to feel the pulsation in you, the rhythm. And allowing that rhythm and this breath that's breathing you to guide your practice. Please raise your arms as your next in-breath comes. Press out against your yoga strap. Reach up with your heart. And you can also, if your neck is comfortable with it, you can gaze up. And as you're reaching up and possibly also gazing up, remind yourself, where are your feet on the ground? When you next exhale, gaze forward and slightly down as you sit into chair pose. Take your hips back. Notice your heels having a little more responsibility than your toes. And keeping your steadiness in mind, breath, and body. Tone your outer hips, from your outer hips to your sitting bones, from your sitting bones to your heels. And as you next exhale, press down to go up. And then once more, inhale to lift your heart, open your throat, lift your gaze so long as your neck is comfortable. And then bring your head forward, gazing forward, release your arms down, catch the strap in one hand. Surrender your own actions and notice what the echo is. Then place the same strap behind so you can put your hands in there. And you place your hands in there so it's like this, palms facing each other. Okay. Press both wrists out against the strap. Again, connect to your feet. The geography and the timelessness, that which you can't even really comprehend. The rhythm of your body, the breath that is breathing you. And then start pressing your wrists out against the strap. So without losing touch with that visualization and that sensing, now reach up with your heart, roll the shoulders back. And whatever degree you have in terms of the comfort of your neck, start also lifting your gaze. Your hips may come slightly forward, but not past the toes, please. And then inhale, raise your heart, catch the strap in one hand, let both arms dangle. And again, surrender the actions and notice the echo. And then reach for the strap, part of your strap. Let's start with the hands shoulder width apart. And then raise both arms up. Okay, slide your hands apart until you come down to about shoulder height. And pretend that you're holding a giant rubber band. Yeah, and you're going to be stretching that rubber band. Yeah. Okay. You can close your eyes if you're not going to lose your balance, and try to sense again the geography on which you are standing right now. The land, the history of the land. You can do recent history and also back and back in time. And then the present moment, your feet right here, the intimacy as I'll call it. And raise up through your heart. And again, to the extent that your neck is comfortable with it, you can also look up. And then bringing your heart and your head upright, loosen one hand on the strap and let this flow down. You can imagine the trillions of cells that you are having an experience right now. You're like a microcosm inside this enormous macrocosm. Now step your feet so they're as wide as your mat. And please take the strap in your right hand with your hand facing forward. Take the arm up overhead. Now move the strap so it's not going to hit you in the head. I just put mine behind me. So I don't want your thumb to hold the strap because you could end up pulling on the thumb. I'd rather that the strap crosses your hand, and that way the thumb is separate in the strap. With your left hand, reach back to hold the strap only for the purpose of putting some tension on the strap. So it looks like this from behind, or from the side rather. And then I want you to press up with the right arm. So it's a strong, as Chris said this morning, an empowered action. Stabilize your pelvis, please. And then arc gently over to your left. And to stabilize the pelvis means that as you're bringing your torso to the left, you're not letting the hips slide over to the right. Root down into your right heel. And try to sense now the breathability of the choices you've just made. How breathable is this experience? You can kind of check for any part of you that feels like you should be accomplishing the pose, or you use a kind of assertiveness or aggressiveness with your body. See if you can come back into collaboration. And when your body next exhales, tone your right low belly and rise up to center. And let's take the right arm out to the side really slowly. Turn your palm face up. Start noticing the temperature of your hand as it goes lower than your shoulder. Catch the strap in your fingers and let the arm dangle. And notice the little tingle that happens in your fingers. Might be very subtle. Let's take the left hand in the strap. Bring it up so that your strap is behind you. Reach back with your right hand to hold the strap. Apply some deliberate tension to the strap for the purpose of reaching up with your left arm. And then as you're arcing over to your right, keep your left heel grounded. And notice the outcome of the decisions you're kind of making in the body. So if you came with a sense of having to push through, then you'll have the symptoms of that. If you come in with a sense of collaboration, you have that as an echo or a reflection in your body. If you came in with a sense of, let's say, passivity, that's the other side of collaboration from aggressiveness. So look for the middle place in your partnership with your body. And when your body next exhales, then tone your left low belly, rise up. Start opening your left arm out to the side. Notice the temperature of your arm and your hand, especially as you come down lower than your shoulder. And let your arm dangle for a moment. You might get to feel that sort of tingle or effervescence. Okay, great. And then let's put the strap aside. We'll come back to it when we go to the floor. Please step forward on your yoga mat for Surya Namaskar. This morning we're going to do Surya Namaskar with these contemporary yoga devices. They're called yoga blocks. But we're going to do a form of Surya Namaskar that's, you might see it illustrated farther back than, let's say, contemporary pictures. So the form we're going to do is when you come down, you're going to touch the knee to the floor. This is called anjaneyasana. Rather than using this pose right now called Warrior One, we're going to use anjaneyasana. So join your hands at your heart. This means Anjali Mudra, and the word Anjali in translation means to make an offering from the heart. Now come into your Ujjayi breath. So you're going to partner with your body there. And I'm going to recommend, to the extent that you can, that when you inhale, you sense the geographical immensity in space and time. And when you exhale, that you sense the intimacy of your own responsibilities. So there's this pulsation that's going to be possible actually in each breath cycle. You imagine yourself being breathed by life the way some of the ocean creatures experience that pulsation. They are being breathed by the ocean. Now we'll inhale Ujjayi, sweep the arms up please, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale Utkatasana, chair pose. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Tone the legs and your inner thighs and inner arches, Uttanasana. Now inhale, take the left toes back and your left knee down. And exhale, invite your hips to come forward, raise your heart, sweep your arms up. That was your exhale, that's right. And then inhale to reach up. And exhale, arms wide, and lightly touch the two blocks. Then firmly touch, inhale to plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Allow yourself to be inhaled. And exhale, left foot forward between your blocks, touch your right knee down. Inhale, invite the hips to ease forward. Now on the exhale, rise up. Inhale to sense the immensity. And exhale, release your arms. Lightly touch the two blocks. Float your right foot forward. Inhale. And exhale, Uttanasana. Enjoy a deep bow towards your legs. Root into your heels. Inhale, rise up. Sense the immensity of that on which you are standing. Exhale, come down into your own heart. Try to sense your pulsation. It's actually palpable in your fingerprints as they touch each other. Energize your legs. This time we're going to add going to the floor with a little back bend. So inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, energize your inner arches, inner thighs. Come forward and down to Uttanasana. Now inhale, take your right toes back and your right knee down. Root down, rise up as you exhale, Anjaneyasana. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, arms wide, put the two blocks aside and step into plank pose. And exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, Cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, Bhujangasana. And exhale, knees, chest, and chin. One more time, Bhujangasana. And this time exhale to plank pose, Badakanasana. And then inhale, reach your hips high, downward dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. Exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Reach for your 2 blocks again. Inhale, let the hips ease forward. Good. Exhale, rise up. And inhale to reach up. And exhale, arms wide. Lightly touch the blocks. Inhale, step forward, heart forward. And then exhale to bow towards the legs. Remember, the exhale is when you sense the intimacy you have with your own body. And then inhale, rise up to sense all that is, even that which seems incomprehensible. And exhale, hands to the heart. Try to sense the pulsation again, right there in your fingerprints. So we know that in the face of the unknown, the human system, in the face of uncertainty, our fear reaction includes certain musculoskeletal reactions. One is in the upper chest and shoulders, the heart, and also in the psoas, the diaphragm, the pelvic floor. So we're using anjaneyasana today because I want to address this line through the psoas. If you don't know the muscle, we can talk about it at another time. You'll feel the benefit of the practice. It's a deep muscle in through here. So this time as we step into Anjaneyasana, I'm actually going to ask you to get a couple of blocks to put your knee on. It's going to change a couple blankets. It's going to change the dynamic for you. So like I have 2 folded blankets here. If you have 2 blankets available to you, you can fold them and place them. That also means you're going to be stepping backwards over these blankets. So think of you need a little bit of acrobatic savvy. So you join your hands together. Okay, good. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Smoothly coordinate with your breath, please. Exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Inhale, rise up, sensing again that which it's beyond your daily comprehension. And exhale, bow forward, bring your attention back into the intimacy. This is the body and the breath that you are a vessel through. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Now we'll call this Ardha Uttanasana, half Uttanasana. Exhale, step your left foot backwards over the blankets. Touch your left knee down to the 2 blankets. And inhale, let the hips glide forward. So you already have a different experience in your hip flexors because we elevated your knee. Now make the 2 blocks tall. You're doing well. Okay. Press down to go up. Yeah, beautiful. So we're not hanging in, we're not hammocking into the pelvis right now. You do want to root. You can have the back toes tucked under or flat, it's up to you. Press your left knee down, right heel down. And then as you're pressing into your fingerprints, lift and tone your pelvic floor, deep low belly, and then go upwards. We root down, but without any sense of hammocking again in the pelvis. And then you can arc to open Whatever suppleness your body has right now, you allow for that. And then let's exhale to open a little further. If you'd like, you can take your gaze up towards the ceiling. And inhale, rise up, gaze forward. Without hammocking, release your hands to your two blocks and make them medium again. If the toes of the back foot are not curled under, go ahead and curl them under and straighten both legs. And you may then place your palms flat on the blocks and gently bow over your right leg. Everyone has a little bit different flexibility here, so if you're someone who'd like to put your hands on the floor, that's fine. If you need your blocks to be taller, that's also an important consideration. Sometimes we have strong sensations in the practice of yoga and we become sort of minutely interested in those. And I'm going to ask you to practice again on the inhale, sensing the geography and the timelessness of where you're right now standing. In terms of the enormity of the cosmos, we're actually standing pretty close to each other. So you can also imagine each other here in the practice. And when you next exhale, go ahead and bend your right knee, and taking notice that you're going to be stepping over those two blankets. Then inhale, float your left foot forward. And exhale, take your right toes back. Step backwards over the two blankets. Touch your right knee down and let your hips ease forward as you inhale. Make your blocks tall. And root down. Yep, to go up. I have my back toes tucked under, but you get to decide how you're going to use the back foot, a little bit like a rudder. Inhale, raise your arms. Yeah, so feel into what's possible in your body when you're collaborating. So notice any inclination to be aggressive or assertive or apathetic, and see if you can find that middle zone of genuine participation, collaboration. If you like, you can open the pose kind of like a flower blooming. And then inhale, raise your arms up. And as you exhale, come forward and make the two blocks medium again without collapsing into the pelvis. It's not a hammock. Then inhale and step forward with your right foot over the two blankets. And exhale for a deep bow towards your legs. Root your heels, please. Inhale to rise. Sweeping in that sense that you are a part of all that is. And then exhale, come down, hands to your heart. Fingers meeting fingers. Your thumbs meeting each other. And the pulsation of your heartbeat is right there. And we're going to use that same position, but make a slight variation to it. So if you get confused, you can let me know. Otherwise, I'll show you from the front. Take your left knee back, please, to the same two blankets that you had. Yeah. And then put both of your blocks on the same side of your mat. You're going to decide how tall, based on your height and your flexibility. Let's put the palm so it's firm. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is rotating so that you're going to be on the outside of your left thigh and left knee on that blanket. You can take the right toes a little bit out here. So your rotation, if you've got the left arm straight, you'll have this C curve from your left shoulder, a downward slope, to your left hip, left thigh, left toes. If you look back at your left foot, it's probably turned a little bit sideways on the mat. Okay, so with the left arm strong, you can just rest your right hand like a decoration on your right knee. Turn your lower belly to your right. Rotate your heart to your right. Look over your right shoulder. Allow the left outer hip to slope gently down. You're stretching here at a muscle called quadratus lumborum, also part of your latissimus dorsi, the left side of your diaphragm. And then rotate yourself around to face forward. Now you've got your right knee as a place to rest your right forearm and the left hand again on these blocks. Invite your left hip to come forward. Okay, now you may bend your left knee behind you and reach back to hold your left foot with your right hand. So it's a very common pose for people to become suddenly self-preoccupied because the quadriceps are like, they raise the eyebrows. So see if you can practice not forgetting. We call that avidya, non-forgetting. Your quadriceps are a small part of your life experience, though they might seem big right now. And with an exhale, take your left toes back to the floor, right hand to your right knee. Okay, straighten your left leg. And let's step the left foot forward. And you can put your blocks on the other side. And take your, what am I doing? Left leg back, is that right? Yes, okay. The difficulty with mirroring for so many years and then having a brain injury. Am I doing this right? No, I don't think I am. No, I'm not. Okay, take the right foot back. Oh, there we go. Don't let me drive you around the city of Portland. Most of you know I'm not driving anyway, but I can go a couple miles. Okay, right hand to the block. There you are. All right, I found my way too. So let the hips ease forward again. That's just the beginning, easing forward. Keep your right arm strong. Walk the left toes a little bit to an angle, you could say about 45 degrees. And then you actually pick up the back leg and turn. So you're on the outside of your thigh there. Yeah. Turn your lower belly to your left. Turn your heart to your left. You could gaze back at your right toes and see that they're hopefully turned a little bit sideways. You might sense your right iliacus. It's a muscle inside the hip bone. Right quadratus lumborum, the outer hip, your outer waist. can slowly roll yourself back to face forward. So level your hips to face forward. So more or less the hips are equally facing towards the floor now, right and left. Let the hips come forward and use your right arm for stability. And you can bend your right knee behind you, reach back, and hold your right foot with your left hand. If you can't reach your right foot, it's okay. You can use your strap if you want to. You can also just enjoy the stretch that is available without having to bend your knee and hold your foot. So that for everyone, noticing where's the middle ground of collaboration and reciprocity, so we're not being aggressive or assertive with the body, also not falling into apathy or lethargy. So you can sort of sense your right quads and hip flexors, but without losing the feeling tone of that much larger, the cosmos. It's amazing. And when you next exhale, lower your right toes down behind you. Okay, this time let's put both blocks so you have them. And I'm going to have you step backwards with your left. So you're going to come to table pose with your knees on your two blankets. Please place the blocks for your hands so your table pose is a little higher from the floor than it would be otherwise. Let's inhale to cat. Please point your toes behind you. Exhale, drop back and down to child's pose. Your hips will be quite a bit lower than your knees because the knees are on the blankets. Inhale, press down and roll forward through cat to cow pose. And then exhale, roll through cat pose on your way to child's pose. Inhale, roll through cat on your way to cow. One more time. Inhale, cat on your way to child's pose. And since your knees are elevated for this child's pose, let's now walk the blocks back and make a little stack of the blocks for your forehead. Having your knees elevated like this means that you might want to separate the knees to be wider than the low belly. So your knees are going to be up near your armpits. The feet are lower, your hips will be lower. Invite your elbows to sort of drape towards the floor. So this means your hips are lower right now, and this principle in yoga that we call apana vayu, that is that which helps us to eliminate the baggage that we're carrying. But it's also apana vayu that helps us to be grounded. So we hear in that definition that when we're able to let go and or eliminate, that is a specific word that we use in Ayurveda, elimination. When we're able to do that, we're going to feel more physically and mentally grounded. So resolving that which we carry, that which we're clinging to, resolving that which we've been holding without even knowing we were doing it. That resolving will help us to be more grounded, more clear. Notice how your body breathes you right now. Your body intelligence is actually deeply interested in you resolving what you're carrying. The trouble is it can't complete that task in a sense of the fullness when we are preoccupied, stressed, distracted, driven, overwhelmed, compensating, etc. Okay, so now I'd like you to walk your hands back towards your knees and come up so that momentarily you're kneeling with your knees elevated and your feet down on the floor. And some of you, your feet may not be comfortable. They might not point this far. It's okay to tuck them under. Tuck your toes under if you like. Okay, so we're going to shift to a sequence we have done a couple weeks ago using the blocks for the pelvis. And then we'll have Shavasana. I want to leave some time for pranayama to happen again. So your 2 blocks, for those of you who weren't in those classes, you're going to place the blocks like this. So they're on this little diagonal and there is a space between them. When we sit on these blocks, we're first going to sit in Badakanasana. So the idea with that is your sitting bones are going to be between the 2 blocks, not on them. And you put the soles of the feet together and you're sitting on the outer trochanters. So you're on those bony landmarks where these muscles called the deep 6, some of them are attached there. And the deep 6 muscles, by the way, they are your hip stabilizers. And some of these deep 6 muscles are also, they innervate with your pelvic floor muscles. Let's come forward to Badakanasana. As you're coming forward, the sitting bones, the pelvic floor, the pubic bone, the tailbones, they're not touching the blocks, but you will feel that bony landmark, that's the outer thigh bone. Let's try to keep the spine relatively straight and elongated. And you can practice coming back to the reflection that your inhale reminds you that this little geographical spot that you're sitting on, it had many prior inhabitants and only became habitable when teeny tiny organisms produced oxygen so that an atmosphere that was breathable to us and the other species here, it got created. I'd like you to inhale and rise up. So you're going to be sitting on the outer thigh bones again. The sitting bones won't touch the 2 blocks. See if you can invite your body to relax onto these 2 blocks. And you're going to pull the left foot to the inside. So when we put it in like this, it's called Siddhasana. Take the right block and turn it up on the medium setting like this. And place your right sitting bone just to the edge of the block. Let's take the right foot out to the side, just like we did before. The right knee and shin are going to be about 45 degrees. You raise your right arm up. And then as you come forward, try to keep your right knee pointing out to the side, not collapsing in. Notice it's likely that you can feel the upper inner right thigh. It's possible that your right sitting bone feels like leaving that block behind. Use the block as a touchstone to stay connected to. Now raise your right arm and your heart and your torso rise up. Okay, and here you are. Release so that you're going to rest. Your right sitting bone is on the edge of this block. It's kind of like a massage. That's not meant to be propaganda. It is kind of like a massage. And so when that's resting there, now reach your left hand across to your right knee and begin twisting your upper body to your right. And try to put a little weight into the right. Where you are on the block, it's like right between your sitting bone and your thigh bone. There's a little, how shall I say, like a tiny valley between those bones. And the muscles in there might be tender. So I have a purpose in doing this. It's not to torture you. And now please rotate around to face forward and take your right ankle and cross it onto your left knee. And you can still have your block there under the, like on the medium setting. So now you're sitting in what some people call Agni-stambhasana, means fire log pose. So where I have this block is the same place. It's right inside my right sitting bone and not quite to the outer part of my right hip. And there is some pressure there. Let the right knee come down to the extent that it can. And close your eyes if you like and come inward to sense here you are sitting. And even if your mind can't go 600 million years back, you can say, wow, much closer in time than that is thousands of years ago, yogis sitting to discover what is this thing called consciousness? What is this thing called the body? And right now you get to sit in that same contemplation. And again, noticing it's a partnership. It's not a dominant culture attitude to come into your body with, but to sense there's a pulsation in there. And there's a life that wants to come through you. This elimination principle, apana, vayu, that's what we're working with here in the pelvis again. It's like, how do we extract that which is actually toxic to this system and then allow that which is really vital to come through? Okay, and then please place your right foot back into Badakanasana. Tip the block down to be flat again, so you've got, the blocks are equal. And let's see what your Badakanasana feels like. When you come forward now, how does the right hip experience it relative to your left hip? And you might have a sense, like I do, I have this sense that the right hip, it's kind of had a little cleansing and the left hip didn't yet. Now, for those of you who want to try this, this is how you learn to levitate. You reach forward and then tone the pelvic floor and pick your hips up off the blocks. So my hips are just floating a degree or two above the blocks. And that little float we call levitating. You can also call it hovering. And then you can place your hips back on those two blocks. And if you fell over, we didn't see it, so don't worry. You take the right foot into Siddhasana and the left block up to medium. So the block is like this. And you're going to be placing it between the sitting bone and the thigh bone right there. Walk your foot out to the side a little bit. Okay. And then raise your left arm. Do your best to keep your left hip on that block. It's not just a touchstone, it's also like a little massage for that part of your body as you reach forward. You could imagine, even though the left inner thigh might be having these interesting sensations, imagine the left sitting bone sliding down the inside of that block, the sitting bone getting a little bit heavier. Your pelvic floor, the outer hip, the inner belly releasing. So we know that our bodies are part of the process of We exhale, and that's an inhale for other plants and organisms. We also have to release. Elimination is what we like to say the obvious. So emptying the bladder, emptying the bowels. And those things that we release, just like when other plants and animals have their release, it's all a part of an ecosystem. The same is true for our mind and our emotions. Not releasing certain emotions is going to be problematic. Reach your left arm forward. Not being able to metabolize emotions is also going to become problematic. So as you now just check that your block is stable for yourself, cross your right hand over, and please twist to your left. You can have the left hip supported by that block and imagine the sitting bone still kind of dropping down. The left hemisphere of the pelvic floor is invited to be more elastic, more supple. And please rotate around to face forward and cross your left ankle over your right knee. And position your block so the size of your block, the size of your foot, the position of your hip, they can all collaborate. Yeah. And you can now sense, I was saying, like a much closer time proximity, thousands of years ago rather than millions. Just a few thousand years ago, when yogis were inquiring, investigating, sitting in their forest research lab, which was amongst the trees, sitting on the river, the Ganga, up in the Himalayas, trying to figure out the nature of life. And now you take your seat here. This practice has spread worldwide. The process of apana vayu also will yield to us a capacity to sense this geography and this timelessness. It will yield our capacity to practice things like fortitude, stamina, grieving, gratitude, forgiveness, action. Also helps us to become capable of some of the teachings in yoga, the absence of greed, the absence of hoarding, the absence of deceit, the absence of conceit, the absence of stealing, the absence of harm, the absence of wrath, the absence of clinging, the absence of grasping. You can please rise up to sit, and let's take a little peek at Barakanasana. And when you come forward, you can check and see how are the hips, what is the angle now, and if you'd like to, you can practice levitating. That means that you float yourself up off of the two blocks. But again, the absence of greed, the absence of grasping, the absence of harm, the absence of clinging. And please walk yourself back to sitting up in your Badakanasana where we started this sequence, and just see how things are. And I'm going to recommend, if you still have your blankets behind you, pick up your knees, place your hips on the floor, and place your upper back and your heart backwards over your blankets. Take a block with you for your head if you need it. If you don't need the block for your head, you can simply lean back over your two blankets. Stretch your legs forward. And reach both from your hips to your heels, from your hips to your fingertips. And then please bend your knees, roll to your side, and what you can do is, like a little breakdancing maneuver, spin yourself about, place your knees over your blankets, and come to your Shavasana. So Shavasana this morning is to integrate from the physical practice and to prepare for a short pranayama that will help us with meditation. So for your Shavasana, please don't let yourself be distracted into thinking or planning. Try to stay a little bit out of the mind Ferris wheel. Let your body receive the blessings of your practice. Shavasana is a pose that we must practice. I recommend with every asana class that you attend, there should be a healthy Shavasana. This is where the squeezing and releasing of the body. Now we have the full body cleansing elimination process. So the absence of greed, the absence of hoarding, the absence of stealing, the absence of deceit, the absence of conceit, the absence of harm, the absence of wrath, the absence of clinging and grasping. These are the teachings of yoga. And that absence will bring forth the fullness of grace, humility, love, and kindness. Allow yourself to rest. Let the body rest and your mind. You could imagine this surrender, a larger intelligence is able to find its way through you. As you resolve the tension of the physical body, the tension of the mind. Invite this rest to go a little deeper over the next minute or so. And welcoming the inner quiet of your Shavasana to be something that you can recall and you can summon. Just gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. And bend your knees. When you are ready to, you can then roll to one side. And use both hands to bring yourself up to sitting. I'd like to share a short pranayama practice to help us to sit in that in us, which is also Joanna Macy. Right? So we are everything and everyone, and everything is also us. So you can come upright and make your seat comfortable so your pelvis is going to be at ease. We're going to practice a couple of rounds of alternate nostril breathing. When you inhale, let the nostril be completely open, the one that you're breathing through. When you exhale, partially close the nostril you're exhaling through. In both cases, the opposite nostril is completely closed. So place your right hand like this, and you put the thumb to close the right nostril. So the left is going to be open all the way. So try breathing in through the left side. And you have a little pause at the top. You're going to close the left nostril completely and open the right one only partially. That's going to cause you to lengthen your exhale. It'll slow it down. It's also going to require the pelvic floor and the inner belly. Then you'll open that nostril completely for the inhalation that comes. Good, yeah, and then you're going to exhale with a partially open left nostril. And then try that on your own for several breath cycles. Okay, so you change the nostril after the inhale between left and right. Please do one more round or end with your next exhale through the left nostril. Invite yourself to relax at the end of that pranayama, to sit quietly and to sense, as I was saying, that the spark that you saw in Joanna Macy is also a spark in you. Invite yourself to sense that spark. It's also present in everyone else gathered here. It's an inherent possibility in everyone. As much as possible, sense this spark as beyond you, not personal to you, but also shining through you. As I sometimes say, like the spark, this thing is borrowing you to express itself. Join your hands at your heart. And while keeping a sense of that spark and this, what I call this immensity, please bring into your heart the reality that right now on the planet, there is a lot of suffering, not even imaginary, it's real. We may not know the data ourselves directly, but let that come into your heart for a moment. And I'll sing the closing chant for us. You can sing with me if you like. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May more and more people exponentially wake up to our responsibilities, the realities of our contributions and the suffering. May we learn to care for each other, to care about every species and the ecology on which we're all dependent. Thank you everyone for being here this morning. Namaste. I really enjoy being with you, and I appreciate your willingness to have me be the chaperone. And I'm just hoping the yoga comes through me and is serving you in the way it needs to.